Good evening. On behalf of the Gamma Kappa Omega chapter, my name is Jakari Henderson, and I am the president of the Gamma Kappa Omega chapter located here in Carbondale, Illinois, and we would like to welcome you. As we all know, during this pandemic, we have been living in a very virtual environment that has been very difficult for individuals to navigate. This workshop is aimed at educating, encouraging, and empowering individuals to take control specifically of their technology at home via Zoom. We will embark on how to navigate Zoom. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. We will wait to the end of the forum to discuss those questions. I am happy to have a very experienced and expert, specifically in Zoom, Mrs. Jennifer Robertson, who works for the Carbondale Public Library and has been an employee over the past 5 years. Without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in. Again, we welcome you. There aren't any bad questions. Feel free to ask away. This is a session for you to get the questions that you have answered about Zoom and how to navigate it in regards to meetings, different public forums that you may host if you're a local organization, and all that Zoom has to offer. So Jennifer, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
All right, how expert am I? I was muted. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Robertson. I'm the adult program librarian at the Carbondale Public Library. And I don't know if I am an expert on Zoom exactly, but I have been using it an awful lot this past year. And I feel like I've learned so much about how to use it. And it's been a really helpful tool in keeping our community connected and keeping programs going. And so I'm very grateful for it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn off my camera so that you can see the slides fully as I'm going through them. But like Jakari said, please feel free to put questions either in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen or in the chat, and I will answer them as best I can once I am done with going over these slides. So. All right, so for this evening, we're going to do a quick overview of Zoom, how to begin with Zoom, going to go over some of the meeting controls, and I'm going to be looking at these meeting controls as though you are the host of a meeting. So this is kind of how you would get set up being the host of a meeting. And this would be helpful even if you're just attending a meeting because the controls are similar. It's just less. There's fewer controls if you are attending a meeting rather than if you are hosting. I'm going to go over webinars a little bit, how you can use the Zoom website to set things up, some troubleshooting tips, and then we'll do a Q&A. So what is Zoom? Zoom is a cloud-based video conferencing tool. So it can be used mainly through video, but you can also use it over the phone. You can host one-on-one or larger meetings or webinars, and it can be used on all sorts of devices, desktop computers, laptops, telephones, tablets, and there's even room systems that Zoom has where the entire room is wired to support Zoom. And it basically can bring communities, groups, and teams together of all different sizes, families. Yeah, so it's just a really great tool. So how you can start using Zoom. You first of all need to create a Zoom account. So you can do this on a desktop computer or you can do it on a mobile device. And actually, if you are invited to a Zoom meeting, once you click on the join link in the email, the Zoom app will ask if you want to automatically download it. So you have to use an app even on a desktop computer to actually use the video conferencing. So you can download the app onto your device by going to either zoom.us/download, or you can go to the App Store on your phone. You can also have it on multiple devices so that you can use whatever is handy. And so this image I have on the screen is what the app looks like on the computer. So you can see there is a sign in. You can sign in with various services. And then I put a little red arrow down at the bottom. If you don't have a Zoom account, you can sign up free there. So the Zoom app, once you have it open, you sign into your account by entering your email and your password. And then the screen on the right will pop up. And this is the Zoom app, like some of the things that are available from the Zoom app. So the yellow arrow is pointing to schedule. And on the left side, this is what will pop up if you were to click on schedule. It says schedule meeting up at the top, and automatically the topic that came up, they just put Jennifer Robertson's Zoom meeting. So that was just an automatic title, but you can change that to whatever you want, whatever your meeting is. You put a date, a time, the duration of the meeting, and under security, you have to choose either between having a passcode or a waiting room. And so this is a security measure that they added last year to help make meetings a little bit more secure, to help prevent Zoom bombing. So you either choose one of those. So you can also change the password. It doesn't have to be a bunch of numbers. It could be a word, or you have the waiting room, which allows you to let people into the meeting. You can choose whether the video is on or off when you're joining, whether it's on or off when the participants of the meeting are joining, and you can choose whether people can only join by telephone, whether they can join by computer audio, or whether they can do both. So we always choose both. And then there's some options to put it into your calendar. The red arrow is pointing to a little orange box that says new meeting. You click new meeting to just start a meeting instantly. When you click that, the Zoom app will just open up and you'll be on camera and you can invite people from within the meeting. I've been using that a lot actually while preparing for this, just to check out some of the features. So it's a really good way to practice too. Just press new meeting and you can kind of see some of the features of Zoom right away. You can also click the join where the blue arrow is pointing to enter a meeting ID or a link. This is if you have a meeting ID, if you were given that and told to use that to join a meeting. Also, there's a drop-down menu when you click on that, and it will, some of your most frequent meetings will show up there, especially if they're recurring. So like one of my book clubs is in there. If I click join, the name of the book club comes up and I can just click on that and join it easily. So on the right side, underneath the time, it says Jennifer Robertson's, and that was the Zoom meeting that I created on the left when I was scheduling that meeting. So where the green arrow is pointing is a little start. So I would go ahead and click that if I wanted to start my meeting that I had scheduled. So I went ahead and looked at Zoom on the iPhone, which is what kind of phone I have. So I'm sure it's similar on other types of phones, but I just have an iPhone. So I took a couple of screenshots. The one on the left is when I just open up the Zoom app, that's what it looks like. So it's similar to the app on the computer, but it's just set up a little bit different to be more friendly on a phone. There's the new meeting, there's join, schedule, share screen, and at the bottom, there's meet and chat. You could click on meetings to see a list of what meetings you have scheduled, your contacts, and you can go into your settings. On the right is when I clicked new meeting and started a meeting, I turned off my video, but this is what the Zoom screen actually looks like when you're using it from a phone. So I have a green arrow pointing to the little menu at the bottom that's more, because there are more things that you can do other than mute, start and stop your video, share content. look at the participants. So you would click on the more if you wanted to see the rest of the controls that were offered from a phone. All right, so we're going to go over some of the meeting controls that a host would have. So there is the mute and unmute. This black bar is what it looks like at the bottom of your Zoom screen, particularly from a computer when you are the host of a meeting. So you have the mute and unmute, start and stop video, security, participants, polls, chat, share screen, record, closed caption, reactions, and more. And there's also the end, which would end the meeting. So if you're attending a meeting, it wouldn't say end, it would say leave. So it gives you that option. But if you're the host of the meeting, it says end. There's always a host of a meeting, no matter what type of Zoom format you're using, and you are allowed to set co-hosts. So host controls allow you as the host to control the various aspects of a Zoom meeting, and the co-host features allows the host to share hosting privileges with another user. The host has to assign the co-host. So you basically just hover over the name of the person you want to be a co-host in your participants list, and a little box will pop up that says more, and then within that menu, you can click make co-host. So you can make anyone a co-host that you want. Co-hosts don't have exactly the same controls, but they have quite a few. There's a list of the controls that are only available as a host, starting live streaming, ending the meeting for participants, making someone else a co-host, placing participants in the waiting room, admitting, removing participants from the waiting room. Co-hosts cannot start the meeting. So if you need someone else to start the meeting, you can assign an alternative host. So as far as the video settings are concerned, the blue arrow on the left is where you will find the video settings. It's right next to your start and stop video at the bottom of the screen. There's a little arrow, kind of upside down triangle, little caret menu. You click on that and you can go to video settings, and it gives you quite a few options. So I went to video settings in this screenshot and then went to background and filters. So I was looking at some background and filters. I don't look that thrilled, but that's fine. So on the right where the red arrow is, and there's a little kind of plus sign that's circled. If you wanted to add your own background image, you would click that plus sign and it would give you the option to upload an image. Or you can choose one of the ones that they already have available, but it's kind of nice to be able to choose your own. You can also click at the bottom if you have a green screen. If you don't have a green screen, make sure that's not checked because it makes it look really funny. And also if you want your video or your background mirrored or not. So sometimes if there's writing on your background, it looks funny if it's mirrored the wrong way. Okay, so here I am with another background that I went ahead and chose, the San Francisco Bay Bridge. So this is just to give an example of what that would look like. But also I have the big red arrow pointing on the left because this doesn't just open up video settings. It gives you access to a lot of settings when you click on that video settings little menu by the start and stop video. So you can kind of check out all of those different things. It's good just to go in there and see like, well, what does this do? What does this do? Maybe not when you're live streaming, but just on your own sometime. It's a good way to learn. And there's also all the keyboard shortcuts are listed there. So if you go to the keyboard shortcuts and click on that, it will give you a list of all the keyboard shortcuts, which, keyboard shortcuts can be helpful. Some people really like to use them. I'm not really huge on keyboard shortcuts, but it's good to know what not to do too. Like sometimes if you click or if you press on the space bar, it will unmute you. So it's good to know that so that you don't accidentally do that and unmute yourself when you do not want to be unmuted. So just kind of checking out all of the settings can be helpful. Security. Security is at the bottom of the screen, the red arrows pointing to it. So they have really upped their security for Zoom meetings, and this is really helpful. You can allow participants to share screen, to chat. Like you don't have to allow them to chat. You don't have to allow them to be able to rename themselves. You can say they can't unmute themselves or start their video. You can also remove a participant or suspend participant activities. You can lock the meeting, which means nobody else would be able to join. You can enable the waiting room, and you can have people's profile pictures hidden. So it just gives you a little bit more control. And you can go in once you start your meeting, you can go right into security and check all of those things. And then it, if you're having a problem during a meeting, you can remove someone. Participants, when you click on the participants at the bottom of the screen, this sidebar will open up. And as you can see, I was in a meeting with myself. I had two computers. I was just checking things out. And so I have a green arrow pointed at my name because the top was the host. If I hovered over my name on the bottom, there would be some stuff that I could do. I could make myself the co-host. I could rename. There's quite a few things you can do as the host. And even if you're just a participant in a meeting, if you hover over your name, there are some actions that you can take. There's also a menu at the bottom of participants. It's blocked because it's open, but it's 3 little dots in a row. And if you click on that, this menu pops up. You can ask all to unmute. You can mute participants upon entry. You can allow participants to unmute themselves. So there's just more of those security measures right there in the participants menu as well. When you click on the little triangle, the little caret menu next to participants, the invite menu comes up. And if you click on that, it will allow you to invite people to your meeting while you are having it. So that you can enter someone's email address, you can use your contacts. The next item is polls. So you can create a poll during a meeting. As you can see, this is what pops up when you click on it. You add a question and it kind of takes you through creating a poll if you keep going. I would recommend generally creating the polls in advance. You can do that. I will show you how to do that a little bit later, but that way you have polls already ready to go. And when you click on the polls at the bottom, your polls that you already created will come up, and then you can just send them out. So it's a little bit less, I don't know, like a little less pressure to have to create them in the moment. When you click on the chat at the bottom of the screen, your chat will appear. So my chat is popped out. So it is in a box kind of separate because I like to move it around when I'm running meetings and webinars. But as you can see on the right, I have chat sometimes appears here because if you don't have your chat popped out, then your chat will just appear on the bottom of the participants. So you can find that option where the blue arrow is pointing under that little more menu. And one other thing about chat, where the green arrow is pointing, where it says to and it says everyone, make sure you have the correct people selected, especially when you're in a webinar. It's very easy to send messages to the panelists. It doesn't automatically go to all panelists and attendees. So you can send it to everyone. You can send it to a certain person. You can send it just to panelists in a webinar. So make sure you click on that little arrow by where it says everyone, and then you'll get the full list of options of who you're actually chatting to, because otherwise, people might not be seeing your message. The next option at the bottom is to share screen. So when you click share screen, this is the window that pops up. It's the basic window, and it allows you to share your screen, a whiteboard. You can plug in an iPhone or iPad to your computer, and it will allow you to share that screen. Any documents you have open, if you have a PowerPoint open, anything like that, it will appear here and you can go ahead and share it. In the advanced tab, it allows you to do a little bit more. You can have the PowerPoint as a virtual background, which actually allows you to almost be in the PowerPoint, like your PowerPoint, you're right in front of it. So you're like basically a part of it. You can share a portion of your screen. You can share music or computer sound. You can share video and content from a second camera. I've never done that, so I don't really know what that does. But I did share a video recently through Zoom, and it worked really well doing it with this way. Make sure I have a circle around the bottom where it says share sound or optimize for video clip. Make sure those things are checked if you're sharing a video, because otherwise they will not be able to hear the video. But then it allows you to have the controls for the video, and the audience or the other members of the Zoom meeting can't see the controls. So that's kind of nice. Okay, meeting controls, record, closed caption, and reaction. So record allows you to record either on your computer or in the cloud. Closed caption, you actually have to assign someone to type, either yourself or someone else who's attending the meeting, or you can use a third-party service, which I believe you have to pay for. Reactions, these are basically emojis, so you can control which ones are available in this meeting settings. So if you don't want people to be able to share reactions, you don't have to allow that, but it can be kind of fun for people to be able to do a thumbs up or a smiley face or something. Okay, and the last meeting control is more. So this is where you can find all the streaming. So live on Facebook, live on Workplace by Facebook, live on YouTube, or live on custom live streaming service. So most people would probably do live on Facebook. You can only choose one thing at a time. We actually, at the library, we use a custom live streaming service. It's basically a service that we have a subscription to called Restream. And we put all of our information in there, and it will send it to multiple places at one time. So it sends it to Facebook and YouTube usually, but otherwise you can easily send it to Facebook or YouTube. You just have to enter in your information once you click on that link, and just make sure you're ready to go, because it really will go live right away and you'll be streaming. In the More menu as well, at the bottom is the Create Breakout Rooms. So when you click on the Create Breakout Rooms, this little box pops up. It shows how many breakout rooms you want to create. You can choose whether to assign automatically, assign manually, or let the participants choose the room. So once you click on that, it kind of walks you through the rest. And then once you're in a breakout room, or once you have started breakout rooms, you have the power to bring people back into the main room. So breakout rooms can be fun if you want smaller groups from a larger meeting. But it's definitely something if you want to do that and you don't know how to do it, there are a lot of tutorials out there, because it can take a little time and maybe a little bit of practice to get it, but it can be a really helpful addition to a meeting. Okay, the view up on the top right of your Zoom screen, this isn't always there. You have to hover over it, and then it appears and it says view. And when you click on it, you get a little menu that gives you your view options. So your view options are different depending on whether you're the host, whether you are in a meeting, whether you're in a webinar. But you can always click there and see what the options are. Speaker view shows the one picture of the speaker, whoever's talking. Gallery view shows a lot of little. Here's an example of gallery view. So this was a book club that we did, and it's just all the people, you can see them at one time. So we like to do that when something interactive. All right, so a little bit about webinars. Webinars and meetings are different. Meetings start at being free, and then they go up from there depending on what capabilities you want. I can show you all where the pricing is on Zoom. Webinars do cost money. I think the cheapest is like $400 a year for a license currently. So meetings are designed to be a collaborative event with all participants being able to screen share, turn on their video and audio, and see who else is in attendance. Webinars are designed so that the host and any designated panelists can share their video, audio, and screen. Webinars allow view-only attendees. They have the ability to interact via Q&A, chat, and answering polling questions. The host can also unmute the attendees. Attendees and webinars cannot rename themselves. So basically, they're used for larger events. In a webinar, it's host, attendees, and panelists rather than host and participants like it is in a meeting. The host can control what view the attendees see. So the attendees don't have as much control over their view as in a meeting. In a meeting, you can always choose gallery view or speaker view. In a webinar, you have fewer choices. There's a Q&A box in webinars, and you can hold practice sessions. So before you actually start broadcasting and allowing attendees to join, you can enter the webinar as many times as you want, and you can basically use that space to practice with the other panelists. So that's very helpful. I did also link a meeting and webinar comparison from Zoom. So I will post this this slideshow on the library's blog in the next few days. So if you want to click on any of these links, you can. All right, the Zoom website. So the Zoom website uses a web browser. It's a really helpful way to schedule and edit meetings and webinars. You can find reports there. You can change settings. You can find recordings. You can do branding. You can do registration. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this website. If for some reason it doesn't show up on your screen, let me know. Okay, so we are on the website of zoom.us/meeting, and this went automatically to upcoming meetings. Great, so these are some of our recurring upcoming meetings for the library. I just wanted to show you this because it gives a little more information on kind of some of the stuff you can find. I think a lot of people don't use the website, but I find it really helpful. You can look at previous meetings. You can save meetings as templates so you can use them again. You can look at the information about your personal meeting room. And over here on the left, you can look at your profile. If you have webinars scheduled, you can look at your webinars. So we have webinars. You can see this is in progress. You can look at recordings. And down here under account management, you can go to reports. And this is super helpful because you can get webinar or meeting registration reports. You can look at poll reports. So you don't have to have everything, you don't have to write everything down during the meeting. Okay, so let's go back over here to meetings. And over on the right, it says schedule a meeting. So let's go ahead and schedule a meeting. This is how we schedule most of our stuff is on the website. So you put in the name, description, when it's going to happen, the duration, whether you want registration. So we're going to go ahead and require registration. We're going to not use a password, but just have a waiting room. You can choose all these options: breakout room, mute participants upon entry. So you can kind of go through those different settings. And so we created this meeting. So here's the link to start the meeting, which I wouldn't be able to do since we are already in a webinar. So this is the registration link. You can copy this invitation and send it to people. you can write down here, you can save this as a template if you have, something that you liked and you had registration questions, say, you could go ahead and save it. Let's see. Okay, so the registration is right down here. So if you go over on the right to edit, click on that, it will allow you to kind of change the registration. So you can put different questions, you can do custom questions. You can also look at the email settings. So we have this automatically set to our library director, but I could change that to me if I was the one doing the program. Can do branding. I like to upload images so that, or logos so that you have those on your registration page. It just adds a nice touch. You can add polls, and you can also set up live streaming so that it really just takes the, one click of a button when you're in your meeting to start streaming, which is kind of nice because sometimes, it can be a little stressful depending on what you're doing. So I think, settings over here is helpful as well. It's the meeting setup. So these in meeting basic, there's just a lot of stuff that you can go through and look at and decide, if you want to include in your meetings or not. Also in meeting advanced also allows you to just kind of go through settings. So this is a little bit more in depth than you would find on the app. Okay, let's go back here. This. All right, so some troubleshooting tips. If you're having problems with your internet being slow, turn off your video or ask people in the meeting to turn off their video. Sometimes that helps. It just takes up a lot of bandwidth. Learn the keyboard shortcuts so that you're not, accidentally using them, or so you can use them if you like using keyboard shortcuts. When you're chatting, make sure you're chatting with the correct audience. Get a webinar subscription if you're doing events that are less interactive, or if you're doing a lot of events, it can be really super helpful. We've used it a ton this year, helping all sorts of organizations do meetings and keeping them super safe. And yeah, it's been a great experience. Practice. Definitely recommend practicing. Sometimes if I don't know how something's going to work, I will just start a meeting, or I'll schedule like a practice webinar or practice meeting, and I'll invite one of my coworkers or a friend and just hop on there and say, hey, can you see this? What happens when I do this? It can really be helpful to do that a little bit. Also have extra people help at meetings, just having co-hosts or just technical people behind the scenes to check the chat, or, it can be a lot to do everything by yourself. So keep that in mind. We always make a schedule for our events. That seems super helpful for us. So making a schedule can really help you with some of the, transitions and things. And also visit the Zoom Help Center to find videos on a wide variety of subjects. So this is the Zoom Help Center. Right here, they have all these video tutorials. So if you click Show All, there's tutorials on basically all the stuff I just briefly went over. So it would probably go into more detail, and they are Zoom, so they know exactly what they're talking about. I feel like I'm figuring stuff out all the time with Zoom, and they change things. They do updates. They definitely have improved since we all started using it so much last year. So I'm sure it'll just be improving from here. All right, and I think that is all I have for today, but you can also feel free to contact me at the library. Part of my job is helping people with technical issues. So I'm happy to chat with you if you're having a problem. And if you ever want to host anything at the library, we do have a few stipulations. It has to be public. But I'm happy to talk about, partnering on events with people as well. So we'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and we can see if there's any questions. All right. Let's see. It looks like. Can you go over copying the Zoom link and sending it to others? Sure. Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and go back here. Let's move some stuff around. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back up to meetings. I think it's very easy to do copying the Zoom link from the website. So I would recommend the website. If you go to the meeting, you have a list of all your meetings under meetings. And so this is the meeting we're wanting to copy. We're just going to go down here to registration link and we're going to copy that invitation and just click on it. This pops up, copy meeting invitation. It's copied to the clipboard and then I can go paste it in an email. So I don't know if that doesn't answer your question, ask me again. Can you do a sample polling question to the attendees to see how that works? Sure. So let's see. We'll do that. I'll go ahead and add a question here. Okay, I've got way too much stuff up here on my screen. Okay, let's move that. Okay, so I'm going to enter a title for this poll. Zoom. Let's just put navigating Zoom. And we'll just type a question. Do you better understand Zoom after this program? Let's do multiple choice. Yes or no. Save that. Okay, and then I'm just going to click down at the bottom where it says launch polling. Okay, so hopefully you all can see the poll. It popped up. Great. Looks like we're getting a pretty good response there. All right, so let's see. How can I make it so my students cannot draw on the screen during Zoom? Okay, that's a good question. That's going to be in your settings. So you are going to want to go into your meeting settings if you're doing it as a meeting. I have never actually, I've seen it before, but I don't have that problem because I usually use webinar. So actually we're going to go to settings over here and we're going to go to in meeting basic. And I believe it's something like annotation. Allow host and participants to use annotation tools to add information to shared screens. You are going to want to check only the user who is sharing can annotate. So that would mean you would be the only one who could do that, could write on the the whiteboard. Do you have to have a certain package to be able to register individuals for events? If not, can you demonstrate it? I don't think so. I think you can do it with meetings. So let's go back into my meeting. You're going to go into the registration options. You did, when you were setting up the meeting, have to check the box that you wanted registration. And that's just when you're setting up the meeting, but I would recommend doing that in the web browser rather than in the app, because I don't usually see the option for registration in the app. So I would just log in to the website, and then you can edit, the registration questions. So they would basically have to register themselves, but then you could, here's the link. So let's just click on the link. So it would bring you to this page, that registration link, my meeting, whatever questions you had added if you wanted extra stuff. And so if you were going to register people, you could just put in their information here and click register. So that would be one way to register them, or you send them this link or put this link in, social media or in an email and say register here. Let's see if we are missing any questions. Chikari, did you see any questions that I missed?
Nope, Jen, you got them all actually.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, if anybody else has a question, or again, feel free, I will put this back on here. Feel free to contact me anytime. I'm happy to help. If you have a question. Jakari, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we closed out, or?
I just would like to thank everybody for attending. I hope this was beneficial. It helped educate you specifically how to navigate Zoom. And in the event that you have any questions, Jen has been gracious enough to provide her contact information. Also, if you're a local organization and you host an event that's open to the community, that's free, please reach out to them. Because they do a great job specifically in facilitating different forms, and it's really seamless behind the scenes. And so if you, like I said, need them, please reach out to them. And then, okay, I saw you just answered that question. Okay, yep. So it is a great way and a great tool, like I said, that's free to community organizations to partner with the public library. They do a great job. Also check out their website. They host a number of different workshops and forums throughout the entire year, and they do have a calendar. We also, the Gamma Kappa Omega chapter, we host a number of different events. So if you're not following us, feel free to follow us on Facebook, check out our website. We have a lot that's going on to provide informative information and programming to our community. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Like I said, I hope everyone was able to learn something from this, and hopefully will be able to go and implement that within their own meeting hosting etiquette whenever you guys host a meeting. So thank you all. Thank you so much, Jen, for being willing to participate and partner with us in hosting this event. Again, like I said, I learned a lot, even being a host for a lot of our meetings during this session. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. I was happy to do it. All right.